people will say things and it triggers the shit out of you. It's like they'll say something that maybe it's, they don't believe in what you're doing. They think it's a scam. They think you're gone crazy. They'll try and talk you out of it for whatever reason. Someone will say something that makes you sort of doubt yourself. Use that as fuel for the fire to prove yourself. And it's more so yourself. But it's like this thing is like, you know what? Fuck up. You don't say this to her. Maybe you do, but it's more like an internal dialogue. You know what? I'm gonna crush this just to prove you wrong. Hey, legend. Welcome to the Rich Mystic Man podcast. And this is my first podcast back for 2024. So happy New Year. Welcome to the year. And hopefully your Christmas and New Year's and January was epic and you navigated the wild west as it was playing out. The energies were pretty hectic. And here in Australia, we've had some pretty wild storms and weather and rain, and one day it's 1 billion degrees and the next day it's like 24 degrees and pissing rain. So it's been an interesting time. And for me, it's been quite actually really challenging. I gave myself permission to have like around about a month just hanging out on my land and being with my family and just time offline, which was really nice, and had some really good fun days and a lot of connection with my friends and family. And I had some really, turbulent emotions and some really down periods, what I call low tide. And so part of me was like, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to go back. And but that sort of shifted, and now excited to be back, but also navigating a lot and feeling a lot of grief around my brother. And just sort of like a feeling of, I don't know if uncertainty is the right word, but just a low period. So I'm like, okay, like part of me wants to work and the other part just wants to just chill and just be in bed. And I guess I'm in a pretty cool position within my life and business where I can just do that. And so just giving myself permission to, I guess, take each day as it comes and move back and integrate back into what I'm doing at a pace that's congruent to me. And no need to rush, no need to be anywhere or anything that I'm not. And just choosing the projects that really feel like 100% aligned. I think towards the end of the year, I was like, yes, let's do this, let's do that. 2024 is going to be huge, all this sort of stuff. And who knows, it could be. I could do all those things, but I want to do them and act from them at a time that's really inspiring, and a time when I'm really like driven and inspired from within to do that. So today I'm going to share with you my 10 top tips to be in the 1%. The 10 top tips to the 1%. Say that really fast 10 times. The 10 top tips to the 1%. The 10 top tips to the 1%. I'll just do it 3 times, 2.5. So the 10 top tips to the 1%. And what I mean by the 1% is I was talking to my mentor, Balaj, and we're talking about my Enagic business. And we're talking about how much money we're making. And he goes, dude, you're in the top 1% of the 1% of network marketers in the world. And I was like, I hadn't really taken time to really reflect on that or think about that. And I was like, holy shit, like he's absolutely right. I was like, there's not many people that I know, except for him and a few other people in our space, in our community, that have recreated the results that we have. And so I was like, truly am in the top 1%. And so that was a pretty cool moment. So I've done a bit of marketing and launching a campaign around the top 1% around, network marketing for my business to, bringing some new leaders and some new people that want to create similar, the same or better results than I have in the last now 9 years being in the online space. So I was sitting with this 1% thing, and, when Christy and I we went away for a weekend to this retreat space in Byron hinterland called Gaia, and we spent 2 nights there, and we just spent time with each other. We got our kids taken care of, and it was just time for us, time for us to be and I guess work on our relationship and work on our goals together for the year and what do we want to create in 2024. And we're just reflecting on our relationship. And then I was about to start a cleanse, and I'd started to over Christmas and that, I sort of, I was a little bit more relaxed with my diet, but I was coming back into like cleanse zone. I've just come off the back of a 7-day Zen cleanse, a rainbow cleanse, and feeling a lot of stuff come out of me, and a lot of clarity around my health and diet. And also Christy was looking at my body, and she's like, you got a full like 6-pack. I was like, babe, that's an 8-pack. And so then I was reflecting on my health. I was like, holy shit, like, not many people have the health that I do. Like I've really put in a lot of time and energy in cleansing and detoxing, and I'm really particular with my food and what I allow in my body and what I don't. And so I was like, I really in the top 1% when it comes to like body and physical health. I was going to say I rarely go to the doctor. I don't go to the doctor at all. The only time I go to the doctor is when I'm dealing with someone else that's in a hospital and I'm trying to navigate them, like my brother, navigate that, or when my wife was having a baby. So yeah, top 1% health. And then I was looking at everything. I was like, holy shit, like I really feel like financially I've been the top 1%, health, top 1%, relationship. We have a really great relationship. We're in love. We have a great marriage. It has its rocky points, but we work through them and communicate through them and navigate them. And also like, my friends, and I live what I feel is the best place on the planet. It's up there anyway, best place in Australia to live. And what else is there? There's health, spirituality. I was like, I really feel with the work that I've done and, the internal work that I've done on myself, I've really been able to rise to the, I don't know, it's hard to measure, it's like, am I really in the top 1%? But I feel, in a sense, just from people that I know, I'm like, well, yeah, I feel like I am, I would be, because most of the population is living in fear. It's like, I'm not living in fear, every now and then I have fear, but it's not, I'm not living in fear. I've broken free of that. I've escaped the matrix, broken free of the rat race. So I'm like, I really am in the top 1%. So anyway, so I want to share the 10 top tips to the 1%. And Christy said to me, she's like, holy shit. She goes, why don't you do like a workshop or an event around like how to be in the top 1%? So I was like, well, I really like that idea. And so that's more on that to come, and see what happens in 2024. And so I've just got the top tips to the top 1%. Said it again, the 10 top tips to the top 1%. Okay, so tip 1, prove yourself and others wrong. I remember when I started out on this journey, no one believed in me. My mum did. That was about it. And so, everyone thought, okay, is this water thing really going to work? I don't know. Don't really see it. Not sure. You're really going to be the top guy in Australia? Yeah, don't think so. Even people in my team didn't believe it. They share that now. I was at one of our events, and we were just recently, and had a girl there that's now just got started on our team. And she was sharing that when I started posting about it online, like her and like her friends that I knew from school, they were like, yeah, Clint's kidding himself. He's gone nuts. Like he's gone off on the bandwagon. But now they're like, okay, he did it. He's done it. He's living it. So prove yourself and others wrong. And it's more so yourself. And oftentimes things will happen. People will say things and it triggers the shit out of you. It's like they'll say something that maybe it's, they don't believe in what you're doing. They think it's a scam. They think you've gone crazy. They'll try and talk you out of it for whatever reason. Someone will say something that makes you sort of doubt yourself. Use that as fuel for the fire to prove yourself. And it's more so yourself. But it's like this thing is like, you know what? Fuck up. You don't say this to them. Maybe you do, but it's more like an internal dialogue. You know what? I'm gonna crush this just to prove you wrong, right? And I don't know if this is a good or empowering state to come from. I don't know, but it's worked for me. It's what I've done, because sometimes people will say things like that sort of stuff, and it's like, it just adds this fuel to the fire. So don't let it knock you down off your perch. Maybe it will for a moment, but use it when they say those things to go, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong, bitch. Right? Get out there and prove yourself. Prove to yourself that you can do it, and prove yourself wrong. This guy, man, up here, this mind of yours will try to talk you out of it. Negative Nancy. So prove yourself and others wrong. Step 2, know that life happens in waves and seasons. So just like I was sharing before, is like, I felt this, I had this, leading up to the end of the year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a month off. All right. So I just had this sense. I was like, I'm just going to I'm going to go offline. I'm going to, our land is called Gila. I'm just going to hang out there. I'm going to swim in the creek. I'm going to be unplugged. It's an epic place because there's like no phone service, barely. You got like 1 bar of 3G. And the only time you have connection is when you turn the Wi-Fi on and you just turn it off. And then you're offline. No one can even contact you. It's epic. And so I was like, you know, I was going to spend a month out there. And it's perfect because I've had all these feelings of like, I couldn't really bring myself to want to do anything, right? So I understand that this happens. So for me, it's like over the last 9 years specifically, if I'm looking at my enagic journey, it's like things come, it ebbs and flows. Things come in waves. There's times where I'm like, you know, for me, it's like I'll call it low tide. So I feel lower. But then there's times where I'm like, I'm on. I'm pumped. I'm jacked. Things are in the flow. Things are moving. Like I'm so inspired. I'm just like relentless. I'm like a dog with a bone. So much energy. I want to work late. I want to get up early. You know, so then I flow with that energy. So I understand that everything happens in waves and life happens in seasons. The sun goes up, the sun goes down. We have night, we have day, we have winter, we have summer, we have spring, we have autumn, and they all bring a different sense of energy. Even the moon cycles, we have a new moon, we have a full moon, we have a half moon, a quarter moon. They all bring a different energy with it. So understand that life's not a straight line. You're not always going to feel 100% inspired. Oftentimes people come to my retreats, they feel epic when they leave, and then 2 weeks later they're like, oh, I've lost it, man. I've lost it. I'm like, you haven't lost it. It's just an ebb and a flow. It's a season. It's a wave. So don't beat yourself up. Go with it. Allow it to move you. Allow it to touch where it needs to touch. If you need to cry, cry. If you're feeling sad, feel sad. Allow yourself to feel that emotion as it arises. And the more you do that, the more it flows and moves through you. And then you allow something else new to come through. So know that life happens in waves and seasons. That's 2. 4, trust that everything turns out. I realized with money, this is many years ago, I'd often have like anxiety around money. And I was like, you know what? Well, you know what? I've always had money. Right? Yeah, it gets low and my account's been in minus and, you know, I've had debt. But at the end of the day, I've always been able to pretty much afford what I wanted to do to a certain extent. So I'm like, if the past is any representation of the future, then why would I run out of money now and not have any money? And so I'm like, all this like fear and all these thoughts and all this stuff that I'm having, I was like, it's not actually true. It's just fear. So trust that everything turns out. Everything turns out the way that it does. And of course, we can affect that and we can show up and we can have a different attitude of the things that are happening in our life, but just know that everything turns out and everything will turn out the way that it does. And so trust in that perfection and trust in life. 5, know that the end is death. That's where we're all going. No one escapes it. The end is death. Might sound pretty morbid, but that's the truth. We all die. And if you can embrace death and know that death is coming and it really allows you to live. If you're fearful of death and worried about death, then it can stifle your life. So for me, I'm excited about my death. I had this moment the other day where I was just reflecting on my life and I just envisioned my death and I saw my children around me. And yeah, it brought a tear to my eye and it was sad, but it was also really beautiful and magical. And just to be there and feel the legacy that I'd left and the impact that I'd had on my children, the greatest legacy that you have. So present time with your children is the most important thing that you can do if you want to leave a legacy. I know a lot of people are living, tuning into this. Everyone talks about impact and the legacy that I'm leaving. The biggest legacy you have is your children. And what's the legacy that you're leaving? You know, for me, like this content and, you know, these podcasts and, you know, me sharing my wisdom with others, that's my legacy. You know, my business is my legacy. My life is my legacy. So I'm tuning into that and I feel into that and I dance with that and I play with that and I know that death is coming one day. For me, I don't feel it's anytime soon. It's sometime in the distant future, but I know it's imminent and it's there. So I get real with that. So then because of that, I show up and I'm like, okay, cool. I've got a purpose. I've got a mission that I need to fulfill. So what is your legacy? Step 6, cleanse and purify your vessel. If you keep eating the shit that you are, it's going to kill you. So that death date will come a lot sooner, and your health will suffer. I see like some of the shit people put in their mouth and some of the lifestyles that people are living. I'm like, I'm super clean. Like I eat a very clean, meticulous diet. I eat really good food. And I know that like some of the foods that I eat, the effects it has on my body, right? Because I'm super sensitive because I've cleansed my vessel so much. I've cleansed my body so much that now I'm super sensitive to some foods that I just wouldn't touch that I would have in the past. Like at the moment, I can't bring myself to drink alcohol. I could have a sip. I could have a sip of wine, but that's about it. I'm like, yeah, that's enough. And so I'm super sensitive to foods and drink and what it has on my body. And when I see other people, they're just like smashing alcohol and they're smashing fast foods and they're eating this sort of stuff and there's no desire to cleanse and purify. Man, this stuff backs up, gets clogged in your intestines, gets clogged in your liver, gets clogged in your pores, gets clogged in your blood. We need to cleanse, we need to purify on a physical level and also on an emotional level and a spiritual level. Cleanse and purify, feeling your emotions, doing the emotional work. The more you feel, the more you heal, the more you clear, the more space that opens up in you. Your heart, opening your heart, expressing your heart, purifying your heart, feeling the pain, the heartache, the heartbreak, and all the stuff that's in there, all that pain. Cleanse and purify your vessel. That's 6. 7, think big. I remember reading a book. I think it's The Magic of Thinking Big. It's like you're always thinking anyway, you may as well be thinking big. So think big. What's the biggest, grandest vision that you have for yourself? And know that your big vision happens in small micro actions. So think big and know that it happens in small micro actions. It's the little things done daily. It's the little things done daily. It's like, when I'm talking about purifying the vessel, it's the compounding effect. If you stifle your emotions and don't allow yourself to feel them, or give yourself 10, 15 minutes to really, truly feel and have a tear or have just get in touch with how you're actually feeling, do that every day, that compounds over time, and that allows for the purification of your vessel. Or same thing with food. It's like, a bit of chocolate or, some fast food's not going to kill you. And it's not a bad thing. Have the chippies. I love the chippies, right? But don't do it every day. Don't do it all the time. And don't allow your kids to do it every day and all the time. Constantly having battles with my children around what are sometimes food and what are all the time foods. So think big and know what happens in small micro actions. Same thing with your business. That's not a thing that just comes, cascading all at once. It's not one big action. It's a series of little actions. Even if someone makes a big deal and they, sign some massive thing or sell a company and they make hundreds of millions, it's like, that happened in a moment, but how many micro action steps did they take before that to get to the point to sell it, right? So know that it happens in small micro actions. That's number 7. Number 8, family first. Your wife, yourself, your children, your mother, your father, your siblings. Love on them. Give them presents. Presents, not presents. You might want to give them presents as well, but give them presents. Give them your time. Be there with them. Don't be distracted by your vision when the greatest impact and legacy you can have is right there in front of you and under your nose with your children. Doesn't mean you need to be with them all the time. It's good to have space and a break away from them. But give them your presence. 9, give yourself permission to play the game you want. So when I said think big in step number 7, give yourself permission to play the game you want. Don't play someone else's game. Play the game that you want to play. If something comes in through you, through your heart, then that's true for you to take action on. Don't stifle it out. Don't put it off for another day. Do something today. And give yourself permission to play the game you want. I remember this is my son was not born. He was in my wife's belly, so it would have been just over 6 years ago. And my wife and I, we're doing about 10K months, and we gave ourselves permission to play a bigger game. She's like, oh, let's do a 20K month. I'm like, what about 100K month, babe? She's like, I was like, because that's what I really wanted. So we gave ourselves permission to play a bigger game. So give yourself permission to play the game you want. It's up to you, right? Get out there and play it. Do the thing that's on your heart. Do the thing that inspires you. Do the thing that lights you up. So 9 is give yourself permission to play the game you want. And 10, step 10. Now, I think I might have actually skipped the step. I think I've actually doubled it up. I've got 3 there, so it's actually only 9. So after this, I might see if there's an extra one that I can add in there, but otherwise it'll just be the 9 tips, but you don't know that until you got here. So it's still the 10 tips to the top 1%, or maybe it's the 9 tips to the top 1%. I like that anyway. I do like that, the 9. I like the number 9. I'm in my 9 year, so it makes more sense. So let's call it the 9 tips to the top 1%. Step 9, don't take it too seriously. It's just a fucking game. Doesn't need to be taken too seriously. Don't take it too seriously. Don't beat yourself up. Don't give yourself so much pressure. Just relax and just know that it's just a game. It's just a fucking hologram. It's just a life. It's not a big deal. Trust. Be yourself. Laugh. Play. Sing. Dance. Life's too short to not be doing what you want to be doing. It's things that light you up. And at the same time, life's too long to be stuck doing the shit that you don't want to be doing. So don't take it too seriously. Laugh. Even if you have to fake it a little bit just to get it started. Bring some more joy into your life. Don't take it seriously. Play. Often get this feedback from people in my community. They're like, just love how you're so like, you don't... I'm always fucking around. I'm always like, no, even if it's something serious, I'll make a joke around it. Right? Be that guy. It lightens the load. It lightens things up. Don't take it too seriously. All right, legends. Hope you enjoyed the top 10 or the top 9. And just to summarize, be you, be true, and never give up. There's magic that's waiting for you. And it's not about modeling what I've done. I'm sure there's a lot of things I can teach you, a lot of things I can share. And I don't want you to be me. I want you to be you. What's your unique gift? What's your unique expression? What's your unique life? And how do you express that in the world? Big love, my brother.
Sitting here watching the clock, I'm struggling, thinking of the bullshit that I've been juggling. Is there more to life than this? I'm thinking twice about the price I'm paying in this 9 to 5 life. The sweatshop.